Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is hypnosis for permanent weight loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello, Leslie M. Thornton, hypnosis for permanent weight loss. Today we have Tina, right? Tina Moser with us, and I'm excited.
Yes.
Woohoo! I'm excited for you to get to meet her. She's definitely an inspiring woman. She's the host of her own podcast, which I had the pleasure of being on recently. And we'll get into the title, but Tina is a business growth strategist. She's a certified exit planning advisor and life coach. She is the host of the Women Choosing Growth podcast, where she shares her expertise and the expertise of other successful women. Her motto for this community of women helping women is "We are better together." And I'm so excited to get into your story. Tina, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's so exciting.
It is so exciting. So as we were getting ready for our interview today, we were talking about just like what your intention is and what your stand for women is. And obviously with your podcast and my being on it and kind of seeing what you're about, it's just that exact message of just like empowering women specifically, but obviously men as well, that we can do anything. And obviously it sounds like your story, entails a lot of throwing your hat over the wall and taking chances, I imagine, and going after your dreams, which is so inspiring. And what I love about this is something like I was telling you, but what have been bringing to my clients recently has been when it comes to getting out of our heads, right?
Yes.
Whether it's food, body, and weight thoughts or just like lower, thinking, stress thoughts that can happen, getting busy, to-do lists, blah, blah, blah. When we're actually really clear on what we want and, actually making goals that are worthy of us getting out of bed in the morning, that can actually slow down that mental chatter, and health actions can actually follow. You're actually going after what you want in a bigger way. So I think the timing of this conversation is truly perfect. And would just love to hear, though, a little bit about your story and how you got where you are today and any twists and turns that are remarkable, probably to inspire people.
Isn't there always twists and turns? I
Always.
would love to still, like, if you're listening and you're one of those people who just like had it all figured out, would love to learn from you because I talk to many, many business women and women in general just getting through life. And it's not a straight path no matter what. No.
Definitely not. And so important to actually own that so that people know, like, whatever journey you're on, it's normal because it's never straight and easy.
Yeah. And how boring would that be, right?
Super boring, no lessons learned,
No
can't be something you need to
stretching. Like we
be.
have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. So yes, I agree.
Totally.
Um, yeah.
Yes. Tell us about your story. Yes.
My story is like literally I jumped out of a plane and figured it out on the way down and kind of built my own parachute in an
There's so many
analogy
people
way.
can relate to.
Yes. And really
Again.
what triggered that is I was in finance right out of college. I was working for a company that was doing a lot of acquisitions. Didn't even know what half of that meant, or like I never had seen an acquisition. I came from we were just talking earlier today, like my mom did barrel racing and her, like we came from total farm country in Wisconsin, had nobody in my family doing business. But
And real quick, so barrel racing, just because that's just fun. So you actually get in the barrel and you're rolling. Tell what's barrel
No, you're on a
racing?
horse doing
Okay.
doing some barrel, like doing like little pivots on the barrel. I just saw it for the first time last week, but I knew
That's
that my
so
mom had
nice.
always done it. So for
That's so
perspective, did
mhm.
not come from a family with a whole lot of entrepreneur. It really wasn't part of my plan in my 20s either. Had some fertility treatments, finally got pregnant. And I asked my employer, which I loved my job working with these companies and merging them into our company. but they wouldn't let me go part-time. And this is back in 1999. So that this whole flexibility, work from home, creative hours did not exist. So I knew what kind of a mom I wanted to be because I worked so darn hard just to, get pregnant. And I was in night school. I was doing my bachelor's at night on top of working full time, to take over an HR experience so that I could bring in these companies that we were acquiring. And one of the projects in that class was to, do your business plan in front of the class. And the timing was perfect. So I was like, well, what if I took that seriously and just didn't do it as a project, but look for something that possibly would be out there for me to do a business that way. I would have the flexibility to be the mom that I wanted to be. And I found a franchise that was new. It was a new franchise. I would be the only one in the state. So I leaped. We lost 50% of our income because I quit my job. We had just built a new house, tripled our mortgage, and I'm like, I kind of want to do this thing, not the
Nice.
greatest timing.
Wow. Or
Some
probably the
pivotal,
perfect timing, but
yes, in
anyway.
hindsight, perfect timing.
Yeah.
I remember being at the Discovery Day. It was a franchise, like I mentioned. And I said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Like all these people in this training or this Discovery Day were way older. I was the youngest franchise for many, many years. Um, and I said, what happens if, are you sure that I am qualified to even do this? I'm like, what are you thinking? Like letting me do this? And the founder said, well, what happens if you fail? And immediately I said, well, that's not an option. Like if I do this, I can't fail. Like I've got
Yep.
a
You
lot
lock
riding on
yourself
it.
in.
I locked myself in and that's just
Hmm.
it. Like that was my mentality of like, I have to figure this out. So fast forward many, many years. I helped a lot of other franchisees, but it took a long time because I didn't know what I was doing and struggled. Even with a franchise, you don't know what you're doing. But to make a long story short, I get bored really easily. So I started several other businesses, helped a lot of the other franchisees, someone came knocking on my door in 2015 and said they wanted to buy my franchise. Um, and then from there, it was like, okay, what am I really passionate about? I started another business, found out I don't want to be in the healthcare world anymore. So just started dabbling in helping other business owners. And that's when I really was like, even my fiance was, you come home in a totally different manner. Like your mindset, your happiness, like I found my true happy place, helping other people. I joined Cultivate Advisors, which is a firm of uh, uh, what do we have, like 50 different advisors, all entrepreneurs, helping people get to that next level. I also did the life coaching because so much of what we work with entrepreneurs is the life stuff
Yep.
especially when working with women, which is where the people I love working with, it's like so much of our life is intertwined with our business that you can't be unbalanced. You're not going to love your job, your career, your whatever if home life, mental life is not aligned. So the
Right.
life coaching really helped me to help those that I serve to kind of get that combination. My biggest passion is making people think beyond their limits because that is where I was in those first several years. And I remember someone giving me advice that I wanted to just like hurt the person. Like I could kill you for saying that. But they were a much more seasoned entrepreneur, and I was this young, probably maybe 30 at the time. And so it's still a pivotal, like I still remember exactly where we were standing when he had said that to me. And I was like, no, I'm just trying to figure out the next month, how do I get 10 more clients instead of thinking, what does next year look like? What does my life look like in this particular point of the future? And once I started doing that, and now I work with clients on doing that, like your world just changes. Your world just changes. So that's what I'm
Mhm.
super passionate about. That's the whole point of women choosing growth and me helping women to just get out of their heads and make a plan and make sure it's uncomfortable because that's what you're going to achieve.
I love it. It's so incredible. Yeah. And then I'm curious. So, questions coming out of that. So,
Yeah.
do you find that there's a difference? I assume you probably worked with both men and women
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
like how women are setting up. And obviously, that was your experience, right? You needed the flexibility to be a fantastic mom
Yes.
and, do these goals that you had for yourself. Like, is there a different setup or mindset that you're coaching women when they're working on their big goals for their businesses that you have compared to with men?
Yes. I
Mm-hmm.
will say men have come a long way. I remember back
Cool.
around that time when I was in my late 20s, and I remember seeing a guy on the street pushing a stroller. And I stopped to go, oh, well, look at that. What a great guy. He's like giving his kid a ride in the stroller. Okay, you don't think that now when you see men. So men have come a long way. Like men
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, women did it all. So there are some men out there that are definitely family oriented. I don't want to diss them. However,
Sure.
to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have those conversations with my male clients.
Mm-hmm.
There
Yep.
might be some flexibility that they need based on a family vacation or like drop off or pick up, but not to the level that the women have because no matter what, we're carrying it all on our shoulders, even when we don't want to. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just in our nature.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, this last year, so my business mentors, especially like one that I worked with for a few years, met male, and plugging in their systems and all their strategies like 100% worked. And, my life schedule, and work schedule was set up like a man's would be of primarily working and not. So it was like, okay, and I have these future goals, marriage and children and whatever, like I want to make sure that I'm setting this up in a way. So this last year was kind of like a surrender a little bit from the male infrastructure, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
went way into the feminine of like two. And now I'm finding like the balance now,
Right.
of both. But I'm grateful that I had that experience so that I could see what felt good for me. Because I
Mm-hmm.
found like when I took my hands off, it was like I missed the structure. I missed, certain things and whatever. So yeah, I think it's just so important to kind of look into the future of being like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and is what I'm building setting me up for, what it is that I want? Is that how far in advance do you have people look?
Me personally, it frustrates my other half because male, they're thinking not nearly as far, or maybe some do. He does not. So I am always thinking. I literally drive, and I see things farther than he does. Like when you're like,
Yeah.
oh, like I'm seeing, an animal on the road 4 miles ahead of me, and he's looking like a car length. So it's just an analogy of the difference in a lot of men and women. So I say at least 18 months when you're literally doing like the detailed plan. But I ask people to look 5, 10 years. I have a program where I ask, we're actually rebuilding it right now, but I give them a magic wand. That has been so empowering because I will ask them, I'm like, hey, where do you think you see yourself in 5 years? And they go, oh my gosh, like I have no idea. Like I'm just trying to get through this quarter or this year. And then if I gave you a magic wand, there's no restrictions. Nobody's going to tell you you can't. All things align. What does your life look like? What does your business look like? And then it's like you just see them go like, oh, well, if I
Can
get
actually
to,
have that.
you're giving
Uh-huh.
me permission to go beyond what is real in our heads or what's possible in our heads, then that's when I want to take my family on a 3 week vacation, which a lot of entrepreneurs would be like, I can't even take 3 days.
Hmm.
So they start to talk about things that they would love. And I literally am writing them down. I'm like, cool, that's our new goal. That's
Mm-hmm.
our new goal. Like now
Yes.
what do we need to do to get there? We've got 5 years, we got 10 years, whatever the case may be. It's out there. So there's no reason that we can't build a plan for that. And that's on the personal side too. It's on the personal life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I followed this one woman, or I had her on the podcast, and she was talking about how she, just in practicing all of the, manifestation, we can actually get what we want and throwing the hat over
Mm-hmm.
the wall. She sat down with her family and she was like, okay, if I'm a coach and I'm going to say to people that anything is possible and like follow the joy, follow the passion, like then I got to put it into practice. So she sat down with her kids and her husband, and all of them had to pick one thing they wanted more than anything. Her one
Nice.
son wanted a dog. Like she wanted whatever in her business, her husband, whatever. And so they all just were like focused on it. And by the end of whatever it was, 6 months or something, they all got the thing as a result of like continuously to empower each other, like, and just focus on that one goal. So I know how
Mm-hmm.
powerful it can be to like actually say yes to the things that we want and then just, hold that. And obviously with
Mm-hmm.
the amount of risk that you've taken, it's like, so what do you see? How do you support people going through the resistance, for actually saying yes to the goal that's bigger than they thought they could go?
Yeah, I would say like we're gonna do that magic wand goal. And if we have I always ask people like how do you like to achieve goals? Some people are like, I'm going to set something completely ridiculous. And if I get really close, like, oh my gosh, I came so darn close. That was amazing. I never thought I would do that. Other people have to achieve their goals. So I need to know that because I don't want someone to be
Mm,
beating themselves up because they set some horrible stretch goal, horribly stretched, not a
right.
horrible goal.
Right.
Um, so knowing what their kind of risk tolerance on their goal achievement is, because then we can set too. So if someone who has to meet their goals, like we're going to set that crazy goal, personal life, business, whatever, but then we're going to set like an uncomfortable but doable goal. And so our goal is to land somewhere in between that. And
Love
my
it.
personal goal is to have them go past the uncomfortable one to be like, see, next time we set a bigger one. So
That's
it's,
awesome.
yeah,
Hmm.
because I don't want anyone to feel bad if, I'm making them, it's, sort of making them stretch beyond reality. And then we're not going to hit all of the things, right? So if your goal is to be healthier, your goal is to improve your personal relationship, your goal is to, spend more time with your kids and be able to do X, Y, and Z on the business side. Like if there's 10 goals, we might really crush 5 of them, come close on 2 and completely bomb 1. I don't know if that added up to 10, but um
I wasn't
so
counting, but you
yeah, I
got
wasn't counting either.
it.
But the point is like we don't have to be
Hmm.
perfect. It's all about stretching on our thoughts, getting outside of what we you said it, I imagine you say it all the time. I know we talked about it. Like we're born with things that we are not born with, but that first 10 years of our life,
Yeah.
there's beliefs that we have in there that we don't even know that
Hmm.
are affecting us. And that comes into all aspects of life. So it's like sometimes we're not setting goals because we don't deserve it, or because I don't want people to think that I'm greedy because I'm making X number of dollars a year. And so a lot of that stuff plays into our personal life and plays into our business life. Like, why can't you make 3 million? You know,
Of
why
course.
not?
Yeah. What makes you different than
If you
somebody
don't have to
else?
work harder for it and you get to be the mom you want to be and the wife you want to be, or the, whatever, or travel, like if you can do it, why can't, who's to say you can't? Don't let other people influence your goals. So that's a lot of that, like breaking through the why of why can't you?
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, I had a coach once say all the time about, it's less important about whether or not you actually achieve the goal. It's more about who you're becoming on the way
Mm,
to it.
yes.
And I also find, in just, with goal setting in general, I in the past was always making goals that were like comfortable, like, and I was always hitting them. Right.
Hmm.
And then I had a
Yeah.
coach call me on it one time and he was like, how come you don't make bigger goals? And I was like, ooh. And I saw it and it's
Exactly.
like, I
Like,
didn't want to deal with the feelings of failure. I didn't want to, right? So then it was like, ooh. So then this last year, I really like went for it. I got a different coach and then, said what my ultimate goal was for the year. And she was like, you can do that like a lot faster than a year, right? And then it just like
mhm,
squinched into my head, you know what I mean? Of just,
mhm.
and then like everything broke because I actually went for it. But I'm so grateful that I did that, learned lots of lessons along the
Mhm.
way, right? And then that much closer, even though it felt like getting farther at times, just by throwing my hat over the wall like that. So just super
And
powerful.
what you said is perfect too about the breaking. It's like just because it isn't an easy path to that ridiculous goal, you could have stopped there and go, that was ridiculous. I'm going to go with my safe goal and not break my systems, not break whatever,
Mm,
road you were on. It's going to be uncomfortable if you're not uncomfortable. We were talking, I have a new worksheet coming out next week, should be next week, that is actually about that. Like if you're not uncomfortable, your goal isn't big enough. And you have
mm.
to know in advance that not everything is going to align in that, that journey of it's not a straight line, like we said. So you have to get uncomfortable in order to grow.
Love that. Yeah. Do you have like an example of a time that you really, obviously you're talking about, the time when you did that with the business and but like that everything kind of fell apart and like what that taught you or who you
Yes.
become? Love to
How
hear.
long do we have? As an
Enough time.
entrepreneur, I was making mistakes all day long.
Yeah.
but the
Mm-hmm.
mistakes taught me so
Mm-hmm.
much. So when I first started
Yeah.
my business, again, I was like in my 20s. So my staff ended up being my friends, and we would
Mm-hmm.
go out after work. And one had actually watched my kids, where I won an award for the franchise, got a free trip. So she like literally stayed at my house, watched my kids. That's not a good plan as as a boss or as a leader.
Yep.
And
And I
that
think that's a
backfired.
good point, especially as women. All so many colleagues have that same, just
Mm-hmm.
getting too close and not knowing the boundaries, and because we're so
Yep.
communal and like we are relationshipal as women, but
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Yeah, and my mission was to like bring them up. I brought them from the field into the office, taught them skills. So I was feeding my wanting to help other people develop other people before I even knew that that was like core core goal. Um, but then it backfires because then you're super comfortable, and then you can't discipline, or you can't hold people. I couldn't hold people accountable when they were also going out with me on Friday night.
hmm
So
hmm
there was a point in my business that I had to eliminate almost all of my staff. I actually have an episode on peeing in the pool, which is when
Oh.
someone is toxic in your business, because I thought I could get rid of one not performing employee and replace it. But if you've got a couple other ones that are also toxic ish,
Mm.
even slightly toxic, the new person comes in, and then they're seeing that, oh, people are leaving early, or they're not, doing the things or holding accountable. So I ended up having to like clean up almost my entire staff. And we
hmm
were a 24-hour business. It was home health care, 24-hour business. So
Mm.
it was a
Wow.
really hard 6, 7 months of cleaning up, bringing in new leaders. But the minute I brought in those new people, I was a totally different leader. We were
My
not going out on
gosh.
Friday nights anymore.
Woo! That's so inspiring. So it sounds like you
Yes.
got really in touch with the mission and just like, no, we're just focusing on how to make this happen
Yeah.
together kind of thing
We need to
and
build a business, and we couldn't do it of just everybody being friends.
hanging out and yep,
Yeah. And I ended up
100%.
having this, I spoke, someone had asked me to speak on culture. So, it wasn't like we ruined, we actually improved culture, because I, I always say this about my employees, and literally tell my kids this too. Like, I am your equal until you force me to not be. So I've always said to my kids, do not make me be your mother. Like,
Yes.
it's not going to be pretty. Like, we're good. We
Mhm.
respect each other. We live by the golden rule. Everything is equal in this house. And I did the same with my employees. Like, don't make me put my boss hat on, because we're going to be so cool as long as I don't have to do that. Because I don't want to be that authority, top of the food chain. You work for
Mhm.
me, or you're my kid, so you need to listen to me.
Yeah.
So I had the structure without having it to feel like, a corporate hierarchy type of thing.
Totally. Yeah, and I think it just speaks to the evolution of leadership in general. And, there are so many iterations of it. And I do find in interviewing other entrepreneurs as well, that, whenever we get healthier as we're continuing to
Mm-hmm.
do our work, it's like relationships fall away, team, it's like it's just not a match anymore.
Yep.
And, even though that's painful and all the things to let people go that you care about or whatever, it's like it's just the necessity of having the match to be able to do, what we're here to do. And yeah, I think for women, especially like for whatever goal that people have, it's like the perfectionism, and the fear of making a mistake. Like I heard you say, like, I made
Mm-hmm.
so many mistakes, right? And
I
for
could write
my
a book
clientele, what'd
just
you
on my
say?
mistake. I could write a book just on the
Oh my
mistakes I
God,
made.
which would be so powerful. Maybe we all should do that for other people. But yeah, like I find, it's the making of mistakes that everybody's scared to do because it can be so painful, of
And
like,
costly. Mm-hmm.
and costly for sure. And it's like the forgiveness of self and the ability to move on. So like any advice for anybody listening on how, if they make mistakes, whether it's with their eating or with their business, like how do you help yourself move on from them
Yeah,
or your
easy
clients?
answer, not easy to do. So the easy answer is
Mhm.
I truly try and find the positive in everything, to the point where, like Mother Hafiz says, um, I don't know, I can be explicit, but shit,
Yes, you
rainbows
can.
and unicorns.
Yes.
So even
Yeah.
in the darkest of days, in the moments when you just did something that you knew better to do,
Yeah.
um, it's like, what is positive? It might be a sliver of positivity out of that. Like, especially when we think about traumas in our life, things that have happened, like someone very close to you might have passed away, or, a tragic divorce or something. Like, you're learning something from that. Something positive is coming out of every mistake that you make. And that's why I believe it 100%. I've taught my kids that, I've taught my employees that, I teach that to my clients. Like, there is a positive, there is a reason you went through that tragedy or made that decision that cost you a lot of money in your business, like whatever. There is a lesson to be learned. There's positive. So
Yes.
easy to say, harder to do. But
Hmm.
my advice would be to, like, if you journal, however it is that you slow down your brain and think about things that are bothering you, or like bad decisions or whatever, take the time and write it down. Like, what did you learn from this? What is the
Hmm.
positive from it?
Yep, I think that is such gold. And it does require actual energy and like rumination
Mm-hmm.
and like literally choosing to go into that belief system of everything is happening. Like even like we can find a million reasons why it shouldn't have been that way and this is terrible and I shouldn't have done that. I should have known better. But like and it's like it ends up being a waste of time. Like you can do that, but like it doesn't get resolved. So everything you're saying, like ruminating
Yep.
on what was so and meant to be and what did you learn and like again choose that belief system of everything's happening for a reason. And I'm sure that's the reason why you've been able to be so resilient with all the business things that you've done to, make that
Yeah. In the
the way of
moment, it's
being.
not it's not
It's
that
not
easy.
easy. No, no,
Not
no.
easy.
Exactly. Like that, this past year has been such an opportunity for me because with my surrender, hands on the wheel, all the mistakes came up. Like, whew, like, did I have to, learn how to do all of that kind of stuff? And so forgiveness in general,
Mhm.
like, I learned so much, like, for the first time ever, it finally clicked in listening to a podcast not that long ago of like, you're forgiving others for yourself. Like I had heard it before, but like it wasn't really a thing. In my meditation, I was just like, I want to be able to like forgive others. But then it was like, oh, so that means that I'm probably not able to forgive myself if I would always like think that I forgave others, but I like the
Mm.
rumination of things would still be in my body.
Right. Hmm.
So then it was just like, oh, so I got to forgive myself. So then I would bring up the visual of the person. I'd be like, I forgive you because so that I can forgive myself. Like, and like, just like, getting myself to be like, oh. And then the other piece that came in was even the 12 steps, like reading Codependency No More, which I just recommend to every human being alive because regardless, there's always going to be some things. But there's a workbook from Codependency No More, and it actually has like the 12 steps like going through, regardless if you have an addiction or not. Again, it's just helpful with like how to be successful as a
Hmm.
human. And like the final chapters after you do like anyone you're still holding resentments for, because this will affect our businesses. This will affect our ability to move on quick if you're holding on to some of these things. And if you don't think you are, you may have some you're not aware.
Chances are you
Anyway,
do.
it's just a thing. And this one guy was interviewed and he was saying that like when he went from like 10K months to 100K months like super fast. It was when he actually started making amends, like outwardly forgiving. He would go on Facebook and tag people from like sixth grade that he made fun of. He found them, added them, and tagged them. It was like, I'm really sorry that I pulled your hair in sixth grade. And he said every single day he was doing that. And like he said that his business just kept like amplifying, amplifying, amplifying like every time. So um and then just knowing like how to do it and then if someone doesn't respond well how to move on from it. It was just like so there actually are ways to do it, but as far as like clearing up the energy so that we can receive more,
Hmm.
right, receive more health, receive more abundance, like being able to forgive self and keep going and have faith in something else is like I don't think it's possible to be successful without that. I like long term to stay consistent as an entrepreneur,
Yep.
um, and to really like have good outcomes overall. So I love
I
it. Oh my
I
gosh, go
think one
ahead.
thing you say about success is, like, your profit and loss statement might show that a business is successful or an individual entrepreneur is successful. I don't I don't believe success is a number. Success
Oh,
is where you want to be, and it might be a $300,000 business, it might be a 30 million, wherever it is, but you could be in that 30 million, but if your life is not aligned, are you really successful?
Oh my
So
God.
I 100%, I doubling down on what you just said of
Mhm.
to be successful, you have to be kind of at, at peace with yourself. And I'm so visual that I believe that too. Like let go of some of that stuff to let some happy stuff in. So it's like just like
Mhm.
employees, you get rid of the bottom 10%. Like just
Yeah.
keep shutting the 10% of negativity out of your body to let in another 10%. And like you'll always be pretty full of the good stuff.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm glad you, yeah, pointed that difference out because it is, and my business was cooking with gas and every week, every month and like whatever, but it was like every time that my coach would check in on like how I was feeling, it would be like anxious,
Yeah.
like fearful,
That's
whatever.
not
And just
success.
like, okay, that's not it,
That's not
So
it.
then needing to actually have the courage to, do whatever you need to do, take your hands off the wheel. So something I'm sharing this because I think it could, support other people is I had a thought that once I could get my business to a certain level, and once I was married, then I was going to be able to like sit back and have this like luxurious la di da. Like it was just attached in my mind, like this equals
It's
that,
from a movie you watch at some point in your life.
Exactly. It's just like, so I had a coach who, she was like, okay, so I'm just going to be honest. She's like, once you're married and once your business at that level, like you're not going to be la-di-da. Like that's not, life only gets more complicated as these other things come in. So if you want to have that experience, like probably should do that now before those things occur. So I actually gave myself the gift of experiencing that. I was
Hmm.
still working, but like a lot of the hands off the wheel and being in the feminine, because I do have a belief that if we are not saying yes to what we actually want in the now, that affects the energy from
Hmm.
actually, being able to come in quicker. So it was like I did that and it's like, okay. And then what I saw in that was like I miss working. I wanted to be working more. Like I wanted the structure back, like I said. So now the difference is my energy is I'm choosing this
Hmm.
instead of like trying to use it as an avenue for the outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, and I just
I
find
love
that's
that.
just like so critical to actually be honest about what we actually want and where can we do that now and still, have that be the access to where we want to go. So, got to feel good,
Yes.
right?
Got to feel
Got to
good.
feel
Got to
successful in order to actually be it.
connect with that core. You got to
I
connect with the
love
core.
it. I
Your
love
true
that so
being.
much.
Hmm.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm sure anybody would be so lucky to have you as a coach with your experience and
Well,
just
thank
like
you.
holding their, vision high for them. And then I know you said you have a freebie, so I'd love to hear how people can get that and
Yes, I
yeah,
can
connect
get you
with
the
you.
link. It comes out next week, hopefully. So we're just putting the final touches on it. And it's really, it's dream big, plan bigger. So it's kind of what
Woo!
we were talking about, but it's a worksheet. So you work through some of the, reasons why you might think that you can't go bigger in your goals, and then action plan to be able to say like, all right, this is what I'm going to do.
Amazing. Perfect. So,
Yes.
yep, we'll make sure we get the link from you and put it in the show notes and put it in the Facebook for people when that comes out. And
Perfect.
yeah, any other final like last words you'd like to say to anyone who's resonating with this conversation, Tina?
My, my go-to statement is be a better friend to yourself.
Mm,
Be a better friend to yourself. So if you're unhappy, like be your best friend and ask yourself why. I literally talk to myself, I'm not ashamed to say it. So I have conversations out loud with myself um when I need to kind of have that conversation. It's like you're outside, but you're inside and you're like, but Tina, that's not true. Why are you believing that? So I am my best friend.
oof, I think that's so powerful. And just like having that energy actually come out of your body of what you're saying. Cause I find that when people have the stress and anxiety that can lead to stress eating or procrastinating
Yep.
or, doing what you want, it's because they're not actually allowing themselves to say the hard things and they can't see it,
Hmm.
So to actually have a practice to talk to yourself and be your best friend out loud is
You could
so
have like the two, I've had some clients and friends that are like, well, that's weird talking to yourself. Like, well, then have your little angel and devil and let them be not you, but have a conversation. And, you're really having the conversation yourself. But
hmm
internally, you know what you need. It's just a matter of pulling it out and
yes.
getting rid of the blocks of, and the, just get rid of the little devil
hmm
who's telling you you can't do things or that whatever, right? Whatever is making you not achieve whatever your goal is. So be a
hmm
better friend to yourself.
It's amazing. Awesome. Tina, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for the work
Thank
that you
you.
do. Definitely check out Tina's podcast. It's so awesome and inspiring. And just remind the audience what the name of your podcast is.
Women Choosing Growth. It's all
Women
about
Choosing
personal
Growth.
and professional growth.
I'm so glad that we met. Thank you for
Me
being
too.
on. And
It was meant to be.
yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Thank you.
If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.